So my son-in-law sent me a text about 2 weeks ago. Said, Ed, have you seen this Social Security cap thing? They're saying the government is going to limit benefits to $50,000 a year. Is this real? Should we be worried? And I'll be honest with you, my phone has been lighting up ever since that headline started circulating. Neighbors, old colleagues, men from the fishing group, everyone asking the same question. Is the government really about to cap Social Security at $50,000? And what does it mean for me? So I did what I always do when a headline starts making people anxious. I went and read the actual source material, not the articles about the proposal itself. And here's what I found. The short answer is, for most of you watching this, the $50,000 cap is almost certainly not your problem. But what I found while I was digging into the Social Security numbers, that is your problem. And nobody in those viral articles is talking about it clearly enough. So today I want to do two things. First, tell you exactly what the cap proposal actually is and why it probably doesn't touch you. And second, tell you what actually should be keeping you up at night. Because there is a real threat here. It's just a different one than the headline says. By the way, if you want to see more videos like this, quickly hit the subscribe button right now and ring the notification bell. We don't lecture here, just real talk from guys like you living it. All right, let's start with the $50,000 cap. What is it? Where did it come from? And is it actually going to happen? So in March of 2025, a budget policy organization called the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, the CRFB, published a proposal they called the Six-Figure Limit Plan. And here's what it actually says. It would cap Social Security benefits at $100,000 per year for couples and $50,000 per year for individuals. That's where the $50,000 number comes from, the per-person cap for single filers. Now, the first question is this a law? And the answer is no. As of right now, in April 2026, Congress has not scheduled a single hearing on this proposal. No committee vote, no floor vote, nothing. This is a policy recommendation from a budget watchdog organization. It has zero legislative momentum at this moment. And even if it did start moving through Congress, which would take months of hearings, debates, amendments, and votes, it would look very different by the time it emerged on the other side. These things always do. So the first thing to understand is that the $50,000 cap is a proposal sitting on a shelf, with no scheduled path to becoming law. Okay, second question. Even if it did become law, would it affect you? And here's where it gets interesting. The average Social Security retirement benefit right now is around $2,071 a month. That's about $24,852 a year. The cap is at $50,000, so the average recipient is receiving roughly half the cap amount. And here's who the cap actually targets. To receive $50,000 a year in individual Social Security benefits, you'd need to be someone who earned at or near the Social Security taxable maximum for most of their career, which in 2026 is $184,500, and waited until 70 to claim. One, that's a very specific combination. High earner, 40-year career near the earnings ceiling, maximum delay, and the data shows how rare that is. In December of 2025, approximately 25,000 retired worker beneficiaries received benefits at or above $62,000 a year, which is $31,000 per person in couple terms. 25,000 people out of roughly 75 million Social Security recipients. That's a fraction of a fraction. So here's the bottom line on the cap. For most men watching this channel, men who had solid careers, contributed consistently, and are planning a comfortable retirement, the $50,000 cap is simply not your fight. Your benefit is likely somewhere between $20,000 and $40,000 a year. The cap doesn't touch you. And even if it passes, which again, it has no scheduled path to doing, it would be phased in, adjusted, likely modified significantly, and almost certainly not retroactively applied to people already collecting. All right, so that's the cap. Real proposal, no legislative momentum, affects very few people. Now, here's the part I want you to pay attention to. Because while I was reading through the CRFB proposal, I noticed why they're even proposing this thing. And that led me to a number that every man on Social Security or approaching it needs to understand. That's the year the Social Security Trust Fund for retirement benefits is currently projected to run short of what it needs to pay full scheduled benefits. And when that happens, if nothing changes between now and then, the Social Security Administration projects an across-the-board benefit cut of approximately 24%. 24% for every recipient, regardless of how much they receive, regardless of whether they're at the cap or at the average. So the man receiving $2,071 a month, the average, would see that drop to roughly $1,574, about $500 less per month, every month, for the rest of his life. And the man receiving $3,500 a month because he waited and maximized, he'd drop to around $2,660, over $800 less per month. This isn't a rumor. This is the Social Security Administration's own projection, published in their annual trustees report. It's been sitting there for years, and most people have no idea it exists. Now, here's the important context. Social Security has been in this situation before. In 1983, the trust fund was months away from not being able to pay full benefits. Congress passed a bipartisan fix, the last major reform to the program, that included raising the retirement age gradually, taxing a portion of Social Security benefits for higher earners, and other adjustments. It worked. The program was stabilized, and the fix lasted decades. So the 2032 scenario is solvable. Completely solvable if Congress acts. But here's the problem. Congress tends not to act on long-term problems until they become short-term crises. And 2032 is 6 years away, which sounds like a long time. But Social Security legislation moves slowly. If reform needs to take effect by 2032, the window for getting something through is already narrowing. Okay, so now you understand both threats clearly. The $50,000 cap, a proposal that doesn't apply to most people and has no path to becoming law right now. And the 2032 trust fund depletion, a real, documented, projected problem that affects every single Social Security recipient and is currently on track to produce a 24% cut if nothing changes. So what do you actually do with this information? Because I don't want today to just be a news update. I want to give you 3 concrete things you can do right now that protect you against the real threat, regardless of what happens in Washington. The first one. If you haven't claimed Social Security yet, and you have any ability to wait, delay. And here's why this is the right move, specifically in the context of the 2032 scenario. If a 24% cut happens across the board, a larger benefit before the cut leaves you better positioned after it. Think about it this way. A man receiving $2,500 a month after a 24% cut gets $1,900. A man receiving $3,500 a month after the same 24% cut gets $2,660. The cut hits both, but the man who maximized his benefit before the cut has significantly more to work with after. The 8% annual growth in benefits for each year you delay past full retirement age, up to 70, is guaranteed. The cut, if it comes, is a percentage of whatever you're receiving. So delaying doesn't just maximize your benefit in the good scenario, it maximizes your position in the bad scenario too. And if you're already claiming, this is still worth understanding because it tells you something about how much weight you want the rest of your financial structure to carry. The second move, build income that doesn't depend on Social Security at all. And look, I've said this on this channel before in different contexts. Part-time consulting, teaching, writing, dividend income, bond interest. But the 2032 scenario gives this a specific urgency. If Social Security takes a 24% hit in 6 years, the men who feel it least are the men who built supplemental income streams before it happened. Because for a man generating $2,000 a month from part-time consulting and another $800 from a CD ladder and dividend income, a $500 monthly reduction in Social Security is uncomfortable but manageable. For a man whose retirement plan assumed Social Security would carry the full weight of his essential cost, that same $500 reduction is a crisis. So the 2032 question forces a more urgent version of something I've been saying for a while. Build the income floor from multiple sources. Treat Social Security as one leg of the structure. A strong leg, maximize it by delaying, but a leg that needs other legs beside it. And the third move. This one is different from the financial ones, but I think it matters. Engage politically. I know that sounds like something people say generically, but the 2032 problem is genuinely solvable. It was solved before in 1983. It can be solved again. The AARP has active campaigns around Social Security solvency. Congressional representatives respond to constituent volume. Older American voters, when they show up consistently and make clear what they expect, have historically moved the needle on this issue. The reason the 1983 fix happened is that the crisis was visible and the political pressure was intense enough that both parties had to act. The same dynamic is available now. But it requires the people who have the most at stake, the men and women currently on Social Security or approaching it, to make enough noise that Washington understands the urgency. Now, I'm not going to tell you which specific legislation to support. There are multiple approaches being discussed, and they involve genuine trade-offs. Some proposals involve raising the taxable earnings cap so higher earners pay more in. Some involve gradual benefit adjustments for higher earners. Some involve modest changes to the retirement age. Most serious proposals combine several of these. What I'll say is this: know that the problem is real. Know that it's solvable. And make it clear to your elected representatives that you expect them to solve it before 2032, rather than waiting until the crisis has already arrived. All right, let me pull this together. The $50,000 Social Security cap that's all over the headlines right now. Real proposal from a credible budget policy organization that makes a legitimate argument about the program's long-term sustainability. Absolutely zero legislative momentum as of April 2026. Affects a tiny fraction of recipients, almost certainly not your concern. The thing that actually is your concern. The 2032 trust fund projection. The potential 24% across-the-board cut. That affects every recipient. That's documented in the SSA's own published projections. And that has a closing window for a legislative fix. So here's what I want you to do this week. Stop worrying about the $50,000 cap. Go to ssa.gov, pull up your My Social Security account, and look at your projected benefit. Then ask yourself, if that number dropped by 24% in 2032, what would that do to my monthly budget? Do the math honestly. Then figure out what that gap tells you about what to build between now and then. Because the gap is the answer. Whatever it is, that's the number that tells you how much supplemental income, how much portfolio buffer, how much financial structure you need to build before 2032 gets here. And 6 years is enough time to build it if you start now. And if you've got questions about today's topic or anything else, drop them in the comments below or send me an email. I read everything, and when a question comes in that I think a lot of men are carrying, I make a video about it. So if something's on your mind, ask it. And if today helped you separate the real threat from the noise, share this with someone who's been worrying about the $50,000 cap. Because a lot of men are anxious about the wrong thing right now. And sometimes the most useful thing you can do for someone is show them where to actually look. And if you're not already part of this community, come join us. Because this is exactly what we do here. Cut through the noise, find the real numbers, and talk about what actually matters for the retirement you're trying to protect. Hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. See you in the next one.